welcome back to the channel. How's it going? How was your August reading month? Mine was a mixed bag. I had 6 books on my TBR. I read 4 of them. So unfortunately I didn't get to Baby Teeth or The Chain yet again. But if all goes well in September and I get through all of that TBR, I might try to throw one or both of those in for September. But we'll see how it goes. So what did I read? I read 4 books. I really enjoyed 2 of them and 2 not so much. So I'm just going to go in the order in which I read them and tell you what I thought about them. So I didn't get started on my reading month until like the 5th of August, I think it was. And it took me a few days to finish this first one. So the first one I read was Richard Lehman's Dark Mountain. This was my first time reading Richard Lehman and I had high expectations, okay? This is a story about 2 families in California who decide to go on either a weekend or a week-long camping trip. I think it's a week-long camping trip. So I really liked the one family who had the teenage daughter and the, I think, 11-year-old son. And they are on this trip with their dad, who has also invited his new girlfriend. So there's this dynamic between the daughter and the girlfriend. The daughter doesn't like the girlfriend, but the son is infatuated with her. Now the other family has a son, teenage son. I think his name was Nick, and he and Julie form a bond. They are very attracted to each other. So they go on this camping trip, but little do they know there's this witch who has her hulking son with her, and they're hiding out in the woods trying to make their way somewhere. They had to leave their last place because of the son, who can't control himself and his violent urges. So the first half of this book was really good. It was filled with tense dread moments, anticipation of what was to come with the collision of these 2 groups. But once that happens, it was very quick and very short-lived. I thought this was going to be like a survival horror story where they're in the mountains the whole time, but no. Halfway through, after the confrontation with the son, I'm not going to tell you what happens there, but they make it out of the mountains and back to their lives. However, the witch has cursed them. So the rest of the book is them trying to not succumb to these accidents that are seemingly randomly happening. I just thought this book was okay. I mean, I didn't really like it all that much. I gave it 2.5 stars, rounded down to 2 on Goodreads. It was filled with very descriptive sex scenes and a lot of descriptions of breasts. Of course, this was 80s horror, and a lot of the stories back then were filled with descriptions of breasts and the female anatomy and a lot of sex. So if you're into that, you might enjoy this one a little more than I did, but it was just disappointing the way things happened. I really liked the first half of this one, the second half not so much. The climax I thought was pretty good, but overall, I wouldn't recommend this one. So the next book I read was Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton, and I really enjoyed this one. I've always loved the movie that came out in '93. And so I don't know why it took me so long to read the source material, but I'm so glad that I did. I ended up giving this 4.5 stars, rounded down to 4, I think, on Goodreads. But everyone knows what Jurassic Park is about, right? And the movie was very similar to the source material. However, the book is a lot more graphic in parts, has a lot more characters. The ages of the 2 children in this are reversed, so the boy is older than the girl. The girl was very annoying. So as you know, this story is about dinosaurs being brought back to life and isolated on this island 100 miles west of Costa Rica. A group of scientists are brought to the island to make sure the investors are happy and to tell them that this park is safe. But of course things go wrong when I think it was a computer engineer type person, Nedry, was that his name? I can't remember. But he shuts the power off and the dinosaurs escape and chaos ensues. So the ending of this was a little different. There were characters that died in this that didn't die in the movie, which surprised me. But overall, I really enjoyed this one and I want to read the sequel at some point. It did take me over a week to finish this one, however. It was fairly long with a lot of scientific terms and a lot of, trying to explain how they created the dinosaurs and whatnot. So I had to take my time with it. But yeah, if you've not read this, I definitely recommend it at some point. So the next thing I read was The Ruins by Scott Smith. And let me just say, whew, this one was heavy. This is a story about four 20-somethings. They go to Cozumel, Mexico for a 2-week vacation. Well, how nice is that, right? And they meet this guy named Matthias, and he's from Germany, and he came there with his brother. Matthias and his brother had like a falling out because of a girl that his brother was totally smitten with, who was like a archaeologist, and she was going to be doing some digging on these ruins. But the brother left Matthias a map. Well, after about a week or so, Matthias has gotten worried about his brother and is wanting to go find him, and Jeff volunteers the rest of his group to go along with him. So they travel across different cities trying to get to this place where this dig is happening. And once they get there, they run across this like Mayan village, and of course nobody speaks English. So they ultimately figure out how to get to this ruin. They get there and they are immediately stopped. This man from the village is trying to get them to go away. But before they can, Amy accidentally, she's trying to back up to take a picture of the whole group and trying to like live outside of this moment. And she runs into this group of vines. And at that point, their fate is sealed. They are forced up onto this vine-covered temple, hill, whatever you want to call it. They don't really call it a temple in the book. They just call it a hill. But there are actually 6 people on this expedition. One of them being a Greek that they have kind of befriended at the resort also. So 6 of them are forced up onto this hill, and they are not allowed to step off of it. If they do, they are shot either with a gun or with a bow and arrow. So it soon becomes obvious to them that they are not allowed to leave. They are surrounded, and things get crazy. I've often heard how awful the people in this story are. I didn't find them all that bad or annoying, although, they did have their moments. I just think they're more true to human nature. When one is faced with their own survival, they become selfish. Others try to bring things together, try to come up with a plan. But they really didn't annoy me, and I really felt for them. There are no chapter breaks in this one. That's kind of the one thing that really bothered me. There are scene breaks in between, like the different points of view between our 4 main characters. But man, this was a bleak, heavy horror story. Oh, it was really good. I gave this one 5 stars. I loved it. But if you are not into body horror, I would suggest not reading this one. But if you are in for a good body horror time, then definitely check it out. I'm not much into body horror, but it didn't really affect me all that bad until the end. The last couple of scenes, there was this one scene, if you know, you know. But yeah, this is horror in its truest form, and oh man, it's very heavy, but I loved it. So after the heaviness of The Ruins, I had to take a little break, and I went with a book that is a YA mystery novel. It's called Keep This to Yourself by Tom Ryan. After The Ruins, I needed something kind of light and just fast-paced, not very deep. So this story is about an 18-year-old gay kid who just graduated high school, and the year prior, one of his best friends was murdered by a serial killer. The serial killer killed 4 people, including his best friend. And so he's been having trouble letting go of that. However, he finds this note that his best friend left for him in a stack of comic books that he left on the day he died. And it basically says that he kind of knew what was going on, and he wanted Mac to come and meet him at the caves, kind of like backup, I guess. And so once he finds that, he takes it to the sheriff, who bags it for evidence and just kind of lets it go. And Mac is not having that. He has to know what was going on that day. So he enlists the help of some of his friends that were close to Connor, but they don't really want to get involved. They think he should just let it go. So he decides to take matters into his own hands and does some investigating on his own. So since he's taken on a job at the library for the summer, it's the perfect cover story for him to come up with this plan to do some investigating. So he volunteers to go around town asking for donations for this sale that the library is going to have. And that leads him to the victims' houses. One of them victims' cousins, he ends up falling for, and the cousin gets it out of him what's happening, what he's actually doing, and so he joins the investigation. So things go on and on. I'm not going to spoil it, how it ended. I will say I thought I had the killer figured out very early on, and I was kind of right. But there was a twist at the end of this, which I did not see coming, and I thought that was really great. It really surprised me. However, this was not really my cup of tea. It's a young adult mystery, so not a lot happened. It's just a lot of investigating. There are very few thrilling moments, and I ended up giving this 2.5 stars, rounded up to 3 on Goodreads. Because it's good for what it is, it's just not my genre of choice. So that was my August reading month. 2 really good ones, 2 not so much, and I mean, it is what it is. You win some, you lose some, right? So what did you read for the month of August? What was your favorite read of August? I would love to know that. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next one.